This is a public information meeting recording for a land use bylaw map amendment planning application. The applicant in this case is Cornwallis Holdings Limited. My name is Will Robinson Muscat. I'm a planner with the municipality of the County of Kings. The purpose of the meeting is as follows. It is to inform the public of the application at hand. It is to explain the planning policies that enable this application to occur, and it is to receive preliminary feedback from members of the public. Please note, no opinions have been formed on this application and no decisions will be made tonight. The background and proposal are as follows. Two properties are currently zoned residential 1 and 2 unit, and there's an application to rezone the properties to the residential multi-unit R4 zone. The new zone would allow multi-unit development. This is a map of the municipality of the County of Kings. That's the approximate location of the two properties in question in the community of Cambridge. This is an aerial photograph of the subject properties outlined in red. So you'll note that both properties have frontage along Highway 1. There's an identified water course cutting through the properties, and there are two existing dwellings on each of the subject properties, or a dwelling on each of the subject properties for a total of 2. And they're partly vegetated, although portions of the subject property have been cleared as well. This is the future land use map for the subject properties and surrounding areas. So you'll note that the subject properties themselves fall within the residential designation. To the west are properties which are designated commercial, and to the north, properties that have the agricultural designation. And then on the opposite side of the highway, Highway 1 south, is industrial designated lands as well. This is a zoning map of the subject property, so you'll note the subject property, the property directly to the east, and the properties to the south are zoned R2, the residential 1 and 2 unit zone. To the west are a number of properties which are zoned C1, general commercial. To the north are properties zoned rural mixed use, the A2 zone. And then there are a number of properties that are zoned M1, light industrial commercial, on either side of the subject properties and to the south. And then there's a number of properties zoned M2, or heavy industrial use, further to the south. This is an entrance to one of the two subject properties, 5811 Highway 1, and kind of just past this particular entrance would be the proposed entrance to the development. This is kind of looking directly on at where that proposed entrance would be. So the dwelling at 5811 would remain, and there'd be a new entrance developed for the proposed multi-unit development. This is a photograph of a road that's kind of leading towards where some of the development would occur. So this is set back from Highway 1. This is an example of the vegetation that remains on site. As mentioned earlier, some of the vegetation has been removed, while there are still pockets of vegetation on the subject property. And this is, again, part of that cleared portion of the subject property as well. This is a preliminary proposed site plan of the development. So the development is approximately 6.5 acres in total area, with 140 feet of road frontage. The civics for both 5783 Highway 1 and 5811 Highway 1 would remain. They're the houses. They would be subdivided off of the proposed new development as well. And there'd be some reconfiguration of property lines for the purposes of development. With regard to the specific policies that enable council to consider this application, Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 5.3.3, consider amendments to any one of the zoning maps in the land use bylaw, provided the application is for a specific development, and A, is to rezone land to another zone enabled within the same designation unless the zone change is specifically prohibited within the strategy. So in this instance, given that the properties in question are designated residential, they're eligible to be rezoned from the R2 to the R4 zone. Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 5.3.5, consider in relation to all applications to rezone land, A, the applicable zone placement policy, including any specific policy criteria for applying the proposed zone set out within the strategy, and Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 3.1.2, establish in the following residential zones in the land use bylaw. C, multi-unit residential R4, lands located in the zone are for compact development in strategic locations, such as along main transportation corridors and near employment and shopping destinations. This zone is intended to include up to 16 residential units in a dwelling in a variety of building types. So what this means is that if the rezoning were to be approved by council, there could be buildings developed with up to 16 residential units in a single dwelling. Finally, Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 5.3.5, consider in relation to all applications to rezone land, B, the impact of both the specific development proposal and of other possible uses permitted in the proposed zone. So not only do planners as part of the application have to consider what is being specifically proposed, but for the other possible uses permitted in the R4 residential multi-unit zone. Finally, there's the general evaluative criteria found in policy 5.3.7 of the MPS, and these are the criteria that staff look to when evaluating this or any other planning application that comes before the municipality. So first, that the proposal is in keeping with the intent of the municipal planning strategy. That is, does it meet the goals, objectives, and policies contained within the MPS? That there be no undue negative financial impact on the municipality as a result of the potential uses that could occur with the rezoning. That the surrounding land uses are compatible to the proposed use or the uses enabled through the rezoning. That there'd be adequate supply and reasonable proximity of school, recreation, and community facilities to serve a proposed development. That there be no undue creation of traffic hazards or congestion as a result of the proposed development. That there'd be adequate fire protection to serve the use that would be enabled through the rezoning. That there be adequate sewer and water services for the uses enabled through the rezoning. That there be no undue potential for flooding or serious drainage problems. When applicable, no negative impacts on well fields or other groundwater supplies. That there'd be no undue chance of pollution such as soil erosion or siltation of water courses as a result of the proposed as a result of the development that could occur with the proposed rezoning. When applicable, no negative impacts on lake water quality or wetlands, no negative impacts on neighboring farming operations, and finally, the suitability of the site in terms of its physical characteristics, grade, soils, geological conditions, location of water courses, marshes, bogs, swamps, and proximity to utility right-of-ways. Finally, there is the land use bylaw map amendment process. So in this particular application, a completed application has been received, and we're currently at the public information meeting early in the process. Following the public information meeting, staff will review the planning application against the specific and general policy criteria that enable council to consider this application and seek comment from outside agencies where applicable, such as the Provincial Department of Public Works, AVRC, Nova Scotia Environment, and our own engineering department as well. Following the completion of staff's review, a report will be prepared that will go to the Planning Advisory Committee for their review and recommendation. Once this has occurred, it goes to first reading at council, where council will agree to enter into a public hearing. A public hearing is then held, and properties within 500 feet will be notified of the public hearing directly via letter mail. The public hearing is also advertised twice in the local newspaper. Upon completion of the public hearing, second reading occurs where council votes to approve or deny entering into the development agreement, into the rezoning. And finally, there's a 14-day appeal period of council's decision as mandated by the Municipal Government Act. And with that, I will provide my contact information for questions and comments. I can be reached at 902-690-6173, email wrobinson-mushcat@countyofkings, or please visit our website, www.countyofkings.ca/planning. Thank you for your attention.